Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Gun Show VIP edition. You know, I almost actually said welcome back to MTDCNC because I'm so used to saying that. And for those of you who watch our media channel, I do that a lot because I'm so grateful when you guys join us. I really enjoy you spending time with us because we're so passionate about manufacturing here. The invisible industry that people have forgotten because of offshoring. Yeah, you've heard it all before. We're going to do it a little bit again, though. And we love talking about manufacturing. I have a really special guest today, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time, actually. He actually left me high and dry at a company. We'll go into those details, as I'm sure he's already shaking his head like, what have I gotten myself into? He didn't really. It's definitely better than that, but it's going to be a fun show, and we have worked together, so that part is true. With that being said, let's thank our sponsors, IMTS, AMT, EBITDA Growth Systems, Shop Rescue. We hope that this gets to Netflix. We really do. What a great series. This is going to be coming out. Actually, it should be out by the time this releases. So if you're listening or watching right now, check Shop Rescue out. A great program, similar-ish to Bar Rescue and Restaurant Impossible, where you take something that's not truly perfect and want to give it the best profitability and successful chances as you can. EBITDA Growth Systems is one of the best consulting firms in the entire country when it comes to, and potentially the entire world, when it comes to helping shop owners find ways to become more efficient, effective, and profitable. So stay tuned for that. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Now, with that being said, I do have to welcome my guest, even though I tried to kick him off 3 times. I'm just kidding. He's truly a good friend of mine, my buddy, Mr. Brad Jones, Regional Manager at MD Tooling. Brad, it's good to see you, my friend. Welcome back to the Gun Show, my friends. This is the VIP edition.
Good to see you, Tony. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Terrible jokes to start this off. I mean, we genuinely are friends and have been for a long time now.
We've known each other for a while now, haven't we?
And to go back to the intro, we did work together at Air Turbine.
Yeah, we did. We did.
When you were about to leave the industry.
Yeah, I was on my way out. You wanted me to tell the story right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so what happened? I was at a company for a while, and I left there, and I thought, you know what? I want to step out of the industry. I want to kind of stay more localized, do that. I was probably out for 3 to 4 weeks, and I got a call from you.
Several times.
Several times. So here's the story. I was picking my son up from school. He was about 2.5, 3 at the time. Loading him into our car. Like, here, come on, oh, my phone's ringing. Tony, ignore.
That's the standard operation,
oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah. Anytime Tony calls, ignore. Got my son into the car, started buckling. Tony's calling. Ignore.
Again, 2 times. You see that already? You hear that, guys? 2 times already. Ignore.
Close the car door, walk around. The phone's ringing again. It must be important. Answer the phone. Brad. Hey, I think I got a good opportunity for you. And he pulled me back in.
Yeah, I'm glad, and I'm sure that MD Tooling is glad that we did, because you're extremely good at what you do. You know, you're very charismatic. You know your products well. You know that part of the industry significantly, and it was where you came from before coming over to the Air Turbine side, which was a learning process, of course,
absolutely.
But it was something that I enjoyed working with you on. It was great for the amount of time that we had together. But in the area that you currently are in and were previously in, I mean, you're a significant face in that part.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that, first of all. But yeah, I've been doing this at MD Tooling for about 6.5, 7 years now.
In total?
Yeah, in total.
No, but in total for all your manufacturing, how many years now?
Well, I was about 21.
Impossible. You're not that old.
Started.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense.
And now I'm 23. So, no.
2 years.
Yeah.
Minus the 6, carry the 1.
Yeah,
How's this
weird.
work?
It's weird. You're in manufacturing. Math is weird, right?
Right, it does work out like that sometimes.
No, yeah, so I'm 36, 37 now? Yeah, 17 years in the industry now.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you even get involved?
So I had warehouse experience working for one of my friend's marble companies.
Is that why you're so buff right now? Are you still lifting things all the time?
No, not so. Well, weights, yeah, not so much marble anymore. But I knew how to drive a forklift, all that fun stuff. I saw an advertisement for a new job because it was a weird 2005, 2006 where things were not going well for the economy. I think we all remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And I replied to an advertisement. I got the job as a warehouse clerk, shipping, receiving, driving a forklift. One thing led to another. I got kind of curious because it was a manufacturing company. I just learned more about that product. They pulled me into sales one day, and that led to growing in the sales, learning more. Just curiosity really drove it until I left, and I was the national sales manager when I left that company. Yeah, and then
I remember that. Yeah, national sales manager.
Yeah, and I left, and then you called me, and that's where we left off here.
And at one time, I remember having a conversation with you where you're just like, I want to be home more. And even though you could carry massive responsibility on a national or even global scale, you said, family's important to me. I'm going to stay and travel a little bit less. Is this part of a conversation I believe you and I had a couple years ago?
Yeah, well, it's when I left Air Turbine, one of the biggest reasons was they were having me do Northern Florida and California. And I was bouncing time zone to time zone every other week, and it was pretty hard on my family and myself. I'm sure you've done the red eye plenty of times.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So it beats you down. So I got an opportunity at MD, and they gave me the East Coast, and I went from there.
And continue to thrive.
And continue to thrive. I love it.
Yeah, I see your products all over the place. I mean, we work with a lot of the turning centers that would implement your style of products. We even have a few of them sitting here. So for those watching, we'll talk about that a little bit in a while. For those listening, I'm going to request that Brad be as vivid as he can in his description so that we can do it both audio and video for those who are only listening on some of the other sites. But we'll do the best we can. But before we get into that, I have to ask you a question, and this is a question you're not prepared for. It's not something that, it's going to be completely authentic, but it's a memory that I have, and I think this is the memory of you, and it has to do with Air Turbine and a 90-degree spindle being turned on the main spindle, a 90-degree, and it's shot through plexiglass like a bullet.
Oh, yeah.
And you sent me a photo and pretty much was like, what do I do now? This was you, right?
Yes,
that
I do
story,
remember that.
That scared the crap out of me. Could you describe that story for me?
I was thrown into the wolves, people. Thrown into the wolves.
You were. You really were.
Yeah. So this had already been a sale that I think you had probably done.
Correct.
And
yeah.
It was in Northern California, if I remember correctly.
I believe so.
And I went there. I can't remember the machine it was on, but I remember they went in, it did a tool change, went right into the glass. It was like, oh, that's not supposed to happen.
That's not supposed to happen.
And they showed me. We worked through it. Everything ended up good. I don't know if they ever fixed the plexiglass, but everything worked out. Yeah, that was a fun one.
I thought that was you. So it's been quite a few years now, but I want to expand on that conversation for everyone watching and listening right now. A 90-degree air spindle is meant to help people do micro machining style stuff, typically about an 1/8 inch, 3 millimeters or less. It really thrives in areas of 5, 10, 20 thou diameter stuff. And 90-degree, obviously, on say a 3-axis machine or even a 5-axis machine, will help you reach areas that potentially weren't able to be reached before, reducing overall cycle time and operation setup. So these air spindles, the way they were designed, were not ever meant, not on the 90-degree and not on the straight, but never are you supposed to turn on the main spindle of the CNC machine, ever. But some programs have automatically set up some sort of spindle on before or after or during a program, especially when I've seen it a few times when doing a tool change. So when that happened with Brad being a newcomer to Air Turbine, and he said throw to the wolves, it's kind of a fair statement, that bad boy shot out.
Yeah. I think it's on my Instagram page. One of my first posts ever. It was like what not to do or something like that.
And what's your Instagram handle?
It is didn't read the manual. Yeah.
Tell me that doesn't work out perfectly for that story as well.
Absolutely. That's probably around the time I came up with it too. Yeah.
So now we're at MD Tooling, and we've talked a little bit about your journey. I know there's a lot of things outside of manufacturing that are very important to you, family being one of those, the gym being another, health being another. I know that you were, if you're not still, because we don't get to talk as often as when we're in the same office, at one time practiced veganism and vegetarianism and really have paid attention to your overall diet. Would you mind talking a little bit about your personal life and what matters to you? And the reason I like to do this, Brad, is because there are people outside of manufacturing that don't give a crap.
Yeah.
And I love saying everyone has similarities. If you can connect to this person within manufacturing, if you're looking for a career opportunity, you've already heard warehousing to national sales manager to destroying a machine to regional manager at MD Tool. Joking about destroying a machine, by the way, guys. Just
wasn't me.
it was not you. But I love to hear those types of stories. Could you describe some of your passions and what you enjoy about life?
You know, I was talking to my wife about this recently. Being vegetarian and whatnot is just such a second nature thing to me now that I don't even think of it as a weird thing, but it is weird to a lot of people. I mean, you primarily don't eat meat either, right?
I haven't had any land animals in over a decade.
Yeah, I'm probably right around the same boat. I think there was a period of time where I did for a short stint, but yeah, I just kind of backed off, wasn't too impressed with how it made me feel, and I physically and kind of emotionally, because there's you tie that back to an animal or something like that.
They say that 80% of our emotions come from our filter organs, so there is definitely a connection scientifically and because we believe it as well.
Yeah, the mind is powerful, right? So,
It is.
So yeah, there's that, and in turn, my wife and my kid are both vegetarian. We haven't eaten meat. My son hasn't eaten meat since he was for almost 5 years now. That's literally half his life.
Wow, he's 10 now, by the way.
Yeah, he's just about to be 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's growing quickly.
He is growing quickly. I want to ask you, do you remember when we met?
This is my podcast.
Sorry,
what are you talking about?
I'm just curious.
We met, actually, I want to say it was, I know it was at H-Tech Center conference, and it was the first time I met Titan Gilroy as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
But it was at a H-Tech conference, I think it was Maine.
Portland, Maine.
Yep, Portland, Maine,
That's right.
and we both had our own booth, and I was like, this dude right here
We sat right next to each other.
could sell, what's that saying? Catch up to a white glove person or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
Ice
that's
to
the
an
saying.
Eskimo?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the saying. I'm pretty sure that was it. No, I was just curious. I didn't know if you remembered. It was so long ago,
We're not that old.
No, we're not that old. But like that was a tech center, right?
It was.
That drew students in and try to bring more younger blood, if you will, to the industry, which was really cool. That's how we got in touch with each other.
Yeah, and that setup, the H-Tech centers, they do that fairly regularly across the country. Even still, there's different speakers. I believe our friend Drew Crow has spoken at a couple of them for like Phillips Machine Tools, and he works closely with Haas from what I understand. But yeah, that was the first time we got to hear Titan's story. What an inspiration it was.
No, absolutely.
And that was kind of, I mean, obviously I'm with MTD now, and we have, Practical Machinist out there, another marketing company, and then Titans of CNC, that's incredibly famous. Ultimately, I don't like to view anything as competition, but as thank you for the additional awareness kind of a thing. But at that time, I consider Titan to be kind of like the OG, the original gangster of marketing and manufacturing as we've come to know it, because nobody was really doing video. I mean, MTD CNC has been around since 2007, but it was primarily UK based and a completely different animal altogether. And what he was doing at San Quentin Prison and some of these symposiums he was doing,
What a story.
And some of the work in the education side of things. So in my opinion, I have so much respect for what he has done and continues to do. But yes, that was where we met.
Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to make sure you remembered our roots.
So let's continue with a little bit more about you. I know you like to hold it all inside and not share with everyone, but you talked about veganism. You spoke a little bit about your wife and your son, almost 10 years old as well. It looks to me like you like to do the gym a little bit also. Are there any other activities that you enjoy? We are here for episode 3 of Shop Rescue.
This whole story has been working 100 hours and not like seeing their value, really.
We really nailed down how much we need to charge for something. How much is required for us to charge for something to not be here 7 days a week and not kill ourselves trying to make a part.
Their lives have changed significantly.
And I couldn't be more happy to be on that journey with them.
Like anybody with a family and a small child, our life revolves around our son right now, and he is obsessed with soccer. So we've got him in private lessons. We've got him in a team. He's actually captain of his team, which we're pretty proud of him for. And then we're just watching games. He's a big Real Madrid fan. I don't know how you feel about that. I know you're a soccer guy.
I know our Spanish audience is not going to like my answer, but
Oh God! Uh-oh. But yeah, family is everything right now in this stage of our lives, at least.
I think that's a great answer. And a lot of people obviously value their family, and we should. And you've made a lot of, I would say, sacrifices, but also enhancements to your career along the lines of wanting that to be important. I remember when we first met and you were first meeting her.
Oh yeah,
that was about the same time, yeah.
Wow, yeah, that is true.
And I remember him being very young and you coming in as a stepfather, but you loved him immediately, like right away as your own, and you always have. And that was, I think, one of the core values that your now wife found in you, and was like, yeah, this is my guy.
I hope so.
She's listening right now, right?
I hope so. I hope she knows that.
Of course she's listening. So I'm going to go into some of these questions because I want to test your manufacturing know-how, your manufacturing knowledge. And we are going to get into some games later. 2 Truths and a Lie will be one of them. And that's kind of why I've already asked him the questions that he told me not to ask him, because he was going to use it in 2 Truths and a Lie. If you've noticed, I've already asked questions to get those answers. So you're going to have to come up with some new 2 Truths and a Lie. But we're playing 3 games today, so get excited for that. It's really fun stuff at the end of this. But I want to test your a little bit of your knowledge. I would love to hear your perspective, because everyone kind of comes from a different world, right? We got the coolant people, we got the machine tool salespeople, we got the cutting tool people, the tool holder people, we got the software people, we got all these different aspects. And I ask this question a lot because everyone has their own valuable opinion. And so the question for you is, what are some of the biggest challenges currently faced in the manufacturing industry, and how do you think we should approach solving them?
Challenges. I think you probably are aware too. There's a lot of now hiring signs out.
For years?
Yeah, and I think that I get that this is probably a pretty standard issue or answer, but it's the reality. And I read somewhere recently that, out of the service sector, manufacturing jobs on a weekly basis bring in about 20% more in income than that does, and that's with very little experience. So, and just the opportunity that can grow from that experience, it opens so many doors. I mean, I'm sitting here right now with you on a podcast, and which is unbelievable. I would never have thought that we'd be doing this, especially when we met, So that's definitely one of the biggest things I wish to see more of people coming in.
It's darn near impossible not to bring that up when that question comes.
Yeah.
And people will bring up, that we offshored a whole lot and we're trying to reshore, and the overall cost of that, and the vertical integration that a lot of companies are taking on in order to do more in-house, so we don't have to worry about. There's things that can be fixed, but I think people's the first, and you're absolutely right. I even read something recently, especially for you folks out there who are looking for a career. And with every topic we always bring up, nothing is 100%, so it can all be discussed. But I read something recently that many of the positions in manufacturing have a much greater return on investment than college degree professions. Now, again, there can always be discussions, doctors and lawyers and things like that, and scientists. But at the same time, the average ROI has a greater return on the salary over time versus the investment that's created, that between now and retirement, going into trades is a better value for your money.
I agree with that. Hey, maybe a little biased, as I'm
We
sure
could
you
be.
are. But I think about it this way, Tony, because I'm sure that you've run into similar situations. There are guys that I've met that started in a job shop, machine shop, maybe their friend of a friend's uncle, whatever, got them into. They learned how to run a CNC machine. And suddenly they're like, hey, you know what? I've got the knack for this. Maybe I can make one of these Star Wars figureheads or whatnot. And they turn that idea and they turn it into something bigger. And suddenly they own a machine shop, or just it starts with a single machine in their garage. And they build it up and build it up. And I mean, I've shaken hands with guys that have that I know to be pretty well off, let's say, that have chips on their hand and oil, because they took what they learned and applied it and built a business around it. And it can be done. I think that's the message we got to get out there, right?
I think it's a great message. The next question I want to ask you is, what advice would you give someone looking to start a career in manufacturing? But before we get to that, so I can give you time to think about it, we really do make everything around us. And you're right. It's a salt of the earth type of people. It's the people you want to be around. It's owners of companies with oily hands who just love making things, right? It's a lot of the tinkerers out there who are growing up either on farms working on tractors or on go-karts or mopeds or motorcycles, cars, whatever it might be. And there's just a true love for what we do. But I believe that there are more people that would love it if they knew about it. And I think I fit in that category. Is I accidentally got into manufacturing, but I was so crap at school, I think I would have fallen for manufacturing had I known about it, right? And I think that happens ignorance is a strong word, but ignorant means like the removal of understanding. And I was ignorant to manufacturing, just didn't know it existed.
Exactly. You didn't know it was there. My advice to anybody would, if you're curious about it, dive in. You know, there's so many roles out there that start at a very baseline level. They'll show you some basic code. You program, you learn. Hey, guess what? I've been playing with this a little bit. I think if I do this, I might be able to improve the process. And in turn, I can show my boss how I've improved that and build upon that. And hey, you know what? This guy's got some good ideas. Let's give him a bump. And then that can launch careers.
Yeah, agreed. And let's connect for a second, Brad, and talk about even the emotional side of things. And the reason I bring that up is because I made a post earlier today that showcased a child who, for the first time ever, was able to hear. And you watch that video, and he immediately reaches for his mom and gives the most beautiful hug. And instantly, I don't care how manly or whatever word you want to use, there's gonna be a tear that slips from your eye because you just see the genuine joy. And we see that in the medical world, whether it be hearing, seeing, walking, moving, all of this stuff. This is all manufacturing and engineering as well.
And I think that is a disconnect that people have. They don't realize that everything around us comes from something, be it medical devices, be it medicine, be it the clothes we wear, the equipment to make a sewing machine, to make the clothes you wear. I mean, it's endless. It really is. And I think there's just that disconnect that people really need to realize, like, this is not going anywhere. If you stop manufacturing, you stop the world.
I've made that discussion in an opposite way of saying stabilizing households, stabilizing local economies, stabilizing countries, but you're absolutely right as well. You stop it by doing the opposite.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, because we're getting in that direction of cool stuff being made, right? Do you have a accomplishment that you're most proud of in your career so far? Is there a situation you went through where you were able to help someone produce or create a product that you enjoyed the most? Do you have an area that you are most proud of?
Let's see here. Yeah, I guess in a roundabout way, I've got a couple different things, but one of my favorite things to do, and I've gotten better at it at this phase in my career, is having somebody show me something. And we've got these things on the table here, but like this Y-axis head for a lathe. I mean, I was able to help a company take a 3-op product, so that means it actually touches 3 different machines before the product is finished, the part is complete, and do it all in one. And they still had 3 positions left on their turret before it was done. It was amazing. And they were like, wow, now we have the opportunity, we've got 2 other free machines that are free, that are available, they can make other parts on and make more money for themselves. So that's a proud accomplishment that I'm at that level now. I'm really proud of myself for that.
And I'm going to expand on that, and you should be proud of that, Brad, but I want to expand on that just a little bit because I want to make sure that everyone understands the significance of what you're talking about. So if you're running 3 machines, and we call it Op 10, Op 20, Op 30 at this point, we used to call it Op 1, 2, and 3. They're changing the game all the time. But if you have 3 different machines that's running a product, you have 3 tool setups, which is going to be cost, whether it be the work holding side or the cutting tool side or the chuck side, whatever it might be. It's going to be more coolant, all that kind of stuff, right? But it's also going to be a lot of time. It's also potentially a lot of mistakes. If I have to take a part, remove it from one machine, put it on the next machine, make sure it's set up good, put it on the next machine, you have to make sure that everything's running as it's supposed to. Otherwise, you end up with scrap. So now we're saving money, we're saving time, doing it all on one machine, and as you already mentioned, freeing up other machines to bring in more work, to bid on more work, and ultimately become more profitable and efficient, which is what we're all trying to get to.
Absolutely. It's a fun thing to be able to recognize a part and like, you know what? we could do it that way, or we do it this way.
Hold my beer, right? So you brought up some of these products that are sitting on the table right now, and of course I have a whole smorgasbord of questions to ask you just for fun, but we're going to skip that for now and talk about some of these products because you brought it up already. It looks like I have some form of rotating head here, but I'm going to let you describe. Looks like we got a dual setup over there. Let's talk about who and what MD
Pretty
Tool.
similar, right?
Yeah, it is. I was getting a tongue twist based on my own company. MD Tooling, a little bit of what they do, what they bring to the table, and if you'd like to highlight a couple of these products, I'd love to hear more about it. I know the audience would as well.
Yeah, well, MD Tooling, we're a pretty small company, relatively. There's 3 regional sales guys and an applications manager. We're a pretty small company. I actually believe we're one of the few live tooling companies in the United States that are still owned by not a big conglomerate. So it's still a very mom and pop feeling at the end of the day, which is nice because I can literally text message my boss right now, the owner, Steve Danke there, shout out.
We got to do name drops, right?
Yeah. I told him I would. But that's a pretty unique thing because there's no hoops to jump through or anything when I need to get an answer to somebody or help a customer out in a certain situation. That's a fun avenue to help them with, or to be able to help out by. As far as the products go, we're looking at these. This is a Y-axis head, like I mentioned. So essentially, let's just say there's a 12-station turret, which means it can fit 12 of these holders on the turret. Now, not all of them are probably going to be these holders. They're going to be multiple things for multiple functions. But this one, particularly, you have 2 in one station. So you can do your drilling and tapping with one thing versus having 2 separate things. So that's a time saver right there. Moving on, we've got a broaching head. This actually, as the turret motor on the inside, this will actually spin. As it spins, this goes back and forth and it drops a little bit, so it actually can broach, make keyways. That's a pretty unique thing.
Would you mind describing a little bit about what broaching is? Because that was something that was new to me coming from the milling world for a while, and then I was like, oh, now I get it.
Okay. I can even send you a visual if maybe we can do that too. But
Yeah, get real vivid with it if you want to.
So basically, you take an insert, you go into the bore of a part, and you just scrape out a little material. Then you drop it down a little bit after it comes out and clears the chip. Then drop down a little more, and it comes out and repeats until eventually you make a little slot. And that's essentially what a broaching unit does, and that's a broach.
And why don't we call that like boring? And not that you're a boring person or I'm a boring person, but boring is obviously a manufacturing word that goes through the center of something and kind of opens up the hole.
So it's better to do it this way because there's less wear on the machine. It's not pushing through, punching it out. You're not disrupting anything. This head was actually made to do that. Just go in, and that takes the wear and tear instead of your big $250,000, $500,000 machine taking the brunt of that. So that's why we prefer you guys do it that way.
Does it also create better finishes, or is it really about the wear and tear on your expensive machine?
It's not only better finishes and a time saver. I mean, this thing is seconds compared to a minute or 2 application.
Wow.
Yeah, it really makes a huge difference.
Awesome. Thanks for explaining that. I know we got another one over here, right?
That's an angular adjustable head. Basically, these odd 45-degree, 30-degree angle heads, holes rather. You got to go in and get a fun little angle that's not the typical 90-degree or straight-on cut. And you can actually adjust that accordingly. It has a little indicator right there on the top. You pick the angle and you have at it.
And is this manual or programmable?
That is manual.
Are there programmable ones out there?
Yes, there are.
Oh, goodness.
It gets a little dangerous.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, we're always trying to do more outside the machine, right? And whether that be monitoring the machine, programming the tooling within the machine, we're all just trying to do more, ultimately. Are there any highlights about MD Tooling or the products themselves, or even if you just like, I'm good, here's the website, where you could offer the audience a bit more insight into a new highlighted product, something that's coming soon, maybe the history of the company, or just say, look, man, check us out. If you're in this world, here's our website. Reach out to me. Here's my personal phone number and social security number. Give me a call. That's what you do, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Anytime. No, definitely check us out. But I do think that we have one of the largest catalogs of tool holders for a lathe, and we also within the last few years started selling a bar feeder that has, we've got a little bit of a niche of the 12-foot bar feeders that we can change the diameter of a spindle, or of a bar stock rather, in less than 1 minute without having to change out bushings or the spindle liner itself. So that's a really fun one, and that's starting to gain traction on that. That's called Top Automation.
I've done interviews where changing that out sometimes takes half a day.
You're not alone. A lot of people have that issue, and when they see this technology, they're floored. They really are. And we've had a lot of success with it so far, and hopefully it keeps ramping up.
Yeah, when we're the time. I always thank people who watch and listen to the show. I always thank people when they're on camera with me. I'll thank you at the end of the day. Time is the most expensive thing and the most important thing that we never get back. So saving it in the manufacturing world to do more, especially when we're talking about reshoring and being able to compete on a global level when discussionably, our resources cost more than resources other places, right? So we're trying to get people to do more through automation, and we have to be able to cut time in technology like what you just described.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it right there. Yeah, it's amazing what automation can do, Tony. I think a lot of people think of automation as just a bunch of robots. Wouldn't you say?
That's the key thought when somebody says it. Christian, sound engineer, my director over there. Somebody says automation. Do you think robots?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, for the most part.
But we both know that CNC has been automating for a long time. I mean, you take a part on a bar feeder, you push it through, and you're spitting out parts unattended, and that's amazing.
Yeah, and then we get into more questions. Is your machine good enough to run unattended without spitting out bad parts? Do you have the monitoring on the machine that if a tool starts to wear, it gives you an alarm and makes an automatic offset, or there's just so much to it.
And that's why there's so many different vendors.
Yes,
right?
That is so true, and so many different partnerships.
Exactly.
All right, I have a couple more questions for you, things that pertain to manufacturing, but will go a little bit more into the personal world, and then we're going to play 3 games. Is that all right with you?
I guess, Tony.
You guess?
Yeah, of course.
Aren't you having a blast right now?
I am. I know that you removed some of my answers already, so I gotta
I'm sneaky like that.
Yeah, you are. You really are.
Well, it's good to have you on the show. I'm happy to spend a little time with you. It has been a couple of years since we've been able to share this much time, as we both have crazy schedules and families of our own. So I do honor you in that.
I appreciate you having me.
Of course. So I know you wanted to give a couple of shout outs, and I know that you've had people ask you to give them shout outs as well, since they know the kind of reach that MTD and the podcast create, right? So I'm going to give you an opportunity. Who do you admire in the manufacturing world, and why?
Kurt Gross.
You went right to that. Was he one of the ones that was like, you better say my name?
He's our applications engineer, and he really helps me out every day. He really is not afraid to talk to people. He's not afraid to shoot it straight to people as well, and he's a tool himself, you know. Sorry, Kurt.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that. You got any other names? I mean, that was an obvious one. You knew it was coming. Yeah. He said, do that, please. Anyone else you admire in the industry you'd like to talk about?
No, I mean, honestly, I'm lucky in the fact that starting at 20, 21 years old, I've worked with so many people that there were so many people who were kind of mentors along the way, you know, yourself included. When I worked at Air Turbine, you kind of showed me the ropes. When we did some sales calls together, you told me what to do and what not to do, and that's okay if they just close the door on you.
Told you not to quit too, and you did.
Oh, well, you know.
Just kidding. Brad's not a quitter. I'm just kidding. He just chose a profession that suited him more.
Another door open.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, nobody particularly, but I do think that there's so many people that are wealths of knowledge that I think that, I mean, even anybody coming into the industry can gain from these guys that have been in here for decades now.
Yeah. I had a conversation not too long ago about the stereotypical older gentleman with his coffee mug and his cigarette that knows everything about every machine.
That's the truth.
Typically comes off as a real dick to start, and then becomes like the nicest best friend ever if you just listen and absorb the information.
Absolutely. I've met that same character.
I think a lot of us have.
That's a pretty they're out there.
This is pretty stereotypical.
Yeah. But you're right. They are a wealth of knowledge, and there's so much.
It's how I learned.
Absolutely, and there's still so much to learn any given day. I mean, you get thrown into situations all the time that you're seeing parts that oh my God, I didn't know we could even make that. And here we are.
I didn't know I could do that.
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Dave Chappelle. We referenced to Dave Chappelle now.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
All right, last question for you before we get into games. I know it's something that's important to you. I think this is something you have obviously brought value to, but I want you to try and expand a little bit more because we talked about your family earlier and the work-life balance and your choices and that kind of thing. But I'd love for you to expand a little bit more because mental health is in every profession and discussions about mental health because it's not a broken arm. It's not a wound that people can see. It's something that we all deal with in our own time and in our own way. And we've found, a lot of us anyway, we've found that we're putting a lot of ourselves into our work. And sometimes we lose ourselves there and sometimes we disappear. And you've made some really great decisions in your life to truly balance it out. So I just kind of want to ask the question, how do you balance the demands of a manufacturing job with your personal life?
I am lucky in the fact that first of all, the management at MD, Keith Swan, Steve Danke, more shout outs here. They're great to work with and they're great to work for. There's such a leniency as far as their trust goes. They're so trusting with me, I should say, that I can work from home almost 50% of the time if I want to. Sometimes you got to get out there and got to get on the road. But early on in the career, my career at MD Tooling, I was told by the boss, like, you know what, if you were traveling all week, you got this, you were out late, you were driving from, geez, you know how long you got to drive sometimes. We call it windshield time in our industry. And you get to your hotel late and you got to wake up early. So if you're home on a Friday, go ahead and mow your lawn. It takes you an hour. You go ahead. There's that flexibility there. You don't want to miss certain opportunities. So I get to manage my schedule around bigger events in my life, which I'm grateful for, and I'm so glad I get to.
Their cash is 5 or 6 times greater than what it was day one. You have to have a great attitude, but you have to know what the score is. You got to make sure that they have good quality parts, that they make good quality stuff, because you can't grow a business with junk.
Have awesome parts at a great price, but I want to make money.
We get to kind of remove ourselves from the day-to-day and be able to grow.
I'm so proud of those guys, and I'm so happy that not just business is getting better, but their personal relationship is going to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful work-life balance, and I hope that more people have the opportunity to do that and pay attention when we can. I can personally say that sometimes I work far too much, and I have the freedom as well, as you mentioned, but I don't know. I love it, and then I find I'll work too much and I'll love it less.
You get a little burnout.
And then I got to take a break and go, okay, now I love it again. You
Yeah.
know, and I think that goes for every industry across the board, but it's great to hear your valuable reasons of how you're able to do it. You ready to play a couple games?
Let's try.
All right, so for everyone watching, we're going to play 3 games today. I know Christian loves the game part because as much as he loves hearing us talk about manufacturing, he's a gamer. I can just tell. You know, he's into the jiu-jitsu stuff. He's MMA. We got some MMA people in this podcast, actually. Shout out to Michael Johnson, also known as Michael the Menace Johnson, who I got to meet the other day. So I'm not sure when this will be released. What's the date going to be? When this gets released, it'll actually be after his fight, but we do want to let you know that we wish you well in your upcoming fight on February 10th in Las Vegas. So with that being said, we are going to play 3 games today. Enough about Christian, my sound engineer, although he is a stud muffin. For all the ladies out there who want to swing by the podcast junkies and say hi to him. So, 2 truths and a lie, would you rather, and rapid fire questions,
All right.
which are 3 of my favorites today. We're not going to do any sounds because we didn't do any research on sounds today, but we'll maybe do that one tomorrow. Who knows? We got podcasting every day, all week. It's crazy. All right, 2 truths and a lie. Did I pull enough out of you that you're going to... Let me preface this by saying I have not won this game yet. On any of the podcasting
Really?
we've done, I have failed every single time. I always guess the wrong thing. I'm going to start needing a cue card from my team here just to let me know, like a no or a yes. Do you remember what's that show? Come on down. You're the Price is Right. When the audience is like, no, higher, low. We're gonna need some of that for this thing that's going on. All right. Anyway, 2 truths and a lie. Did I give you enough long-winded explanation time to think of something?
Not at all,
Should
but
I
I'll
keep?
figure it out.
Should I
I'll
keep
figure it out.
mumbling along?
All right, let's see here. guess, let's see. Okay, so,
You really thought this through, huh?
well, I did, and you blew it for me, so that really ruined it. My most basic experience with manufacturing, with hands on myself, is a drill press and a surface grinder. I was an anthropology major in college, or I can squat 500 pounds.
I don't think you're an anthropology major.
I was, Tony.
Stop it.
I was.
Well, I'm right on track. Never got this game right. Freaking excellent.
It's a funny story though, because I had started in sales in this industry and still going to school. And my anthropology teacher, one of my favorite professors, she was like, "Hey, Brad, you've really got a little pep in your step lately. What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, I started this role," and she asked me like, "Oh, are you making decent money? Yada yada yada." I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Trust me, there's not a lot of money in this field." And that was it for anthropology.
So which one's the lie?
The lie was the squatting 500 pounds. Who can do that? That's
I
impossible.
thought you could. Look at
No,
you.
Impossible, man.
Can you flex for the camera?
Impossible.
I thought that was true.
No.
It shows you how much I know about the gym. You can
Yeah.
tell by I don't have a lot of muscles either. All right. I lose again, as always. Want to play the game Would You Rather?
Let's do it.
All right, so for the audience tuning in for the first time or doesn't remember the last time we played, Would You Rather kind of gives opposing views where nothing is perfect, but which one would you rather do? I've been giving the same one over and over again, so I'm going to pick a new one. This will not be your question, Brad. It's just for the audience as an example. Would you rather deal with a consistent shortage of raw materials or have an excess of materials with limited storage space? So obviously you'd have to choose which one of those makes more sense to you. So with that being said, would you like to go with the first question, my friend? We'll do 2 or 3 of these.
Let's do it.
All right. Would you rather lead a project with a high budget but high expectations or a small budget with more creative freedom?
Well, that's a good one. I say small budget with creative freedom, because there's a lot of fun ideas and there's a lot of collaborating in this industry that, working open houses and whatnot, you realize you can use a lot of people to help develop a situation and make it good. So I would go with that one.
Having to choose, I'd probably go with you as well because I like being creative, but wouldn't it be great to have both?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
It would be.
And your company gets to make a lot of money
Yeah.
and you get to remain creative.
Absolutely.
But that's not how this game works, is it?
Nope. I chose one. I chose.
All right, you ready for another one?
Let's do it.
Would you rather be part of a team that values tradition and proven methods or one that prioritizes innovation and experimentation?
Innovation.
Yeah, back to that.
Absolutely.
Almost the same as the last one,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And why not?
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. I mean, not that I'm not on the hot seat. This is for Brad, but sometimes I like to let my guests know that I agree with them.
Don't stay in a box. You gotta get out there.
Yeah, I'll always leave the comfort zone.
Exactly.
All right, one more. Would you rather? Ooh, no, that's far too similar than the last one. Let me see if I can find another one for you. All right. Would you rather have advanced robotics with occasional technical issues or reliable basic machinery that requires more manual intervention?
Robotics.
Even with the technical issues?
What kind of technical issues are we talking?
Give me details.
Yeah, I need to know. Is there
Are they fixable?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess because I've seen more and more robotics lately, I'm fascinated with it. So right now, that's where my curiosity is. So that's probably where I go.
To be fair, I probably would as well. I think there's great value in new machinists learning how to run equipment that's manual and feeling the vibration and hearing the sound
That's a good
and
point.
watching the chips. So I think that is something that sometimes is a lost art but needs to be influenced. But at the end of the day, it's got to be automation and just fix it. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
there's going to be technical issues in almost everything. Just figure out how to make it work.
That is a very good point. There's always technical issues. So let's just let's go with the robots.
Yeah, good choice, brother. All right, rapid fire questions. We'll do 3, 4, 5, 6 of these, depending on how Brad's doing. These are fun. Just the first thing that comes to your mind. This one is not going to be one of the questions for Brad, just an example for all of you out there who want to answer this. And again, guys and gals out there, if you're watching or listening to this, if you want to leave comments in the comment section for your answers on all of this, by all means, let's discuss it. Let's have some fun with it. What would you choose? in all of these questions. I think that allows for everyone to have some real fun back and forth on what you choose. So as an example, Brad, rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not editing this whatsoever, so good luck.
I don't have to give my reasoning, do I?
If you feel for it, you can.
Okay,
If not, I'll just keep firing them at you if you don't give me reasons.
let's go.
But the first one, which is an example that Brad will not get, is what's the most unusual item you've ever manufactured? And he'll say whatever it is, right? And just be quick about it, that kind of thing. I'm actually going to go in reverse here, go into the bottom of my question list. The one change you'd make in the manufacturing industry.
Oh man, this is supposed to be rapid fire.
It is.
Sorry. I think we need to be more inclusive with getting more women in the industry. There's a very male-dominated industry here.
That's a great answer. Your favorite manufacturing era, if you have one.
I really admire like the. I guess I just went to the World War II museum and
Did you?
in New Orleans, and I just saw a lot of the way they built things back then. It was pretty cool, but I don't know if I'd go back to it. But that's my answer.
That's a good answer. All right.
Long-winded, though.
What color best represents manufacturing?
Jeez, blue.
And why would it be blue? You just took a guess. You said
chips,
said
when you get the chips really hot and they turn blue. There you go.
good answer. And I do like a blue chip in a C or a 9 shape. The most important quality for a manufacturer.
Oh man, best quality for a manufacturer, just like a machinist.
Yeah, something like that.
Attention to detail.
I like that too, and that's important. All right, last one of the hot questions. Here we go. The best piece of advice you've ever received in your career.
Oh, best piece of advice I've ever received.
That's tough for a hot question, right?
That is tough for a question, but that's a long-winded question. Being in a sales role, I guess just don't be afraid to knock on doors. You never know who's going to open the door, let you in, give you the tour, and you never know if you're going to have that solution. So I guess just don't be afraid to knock on the door. Nothing's going to happen if nothing comes from nothing, so just do it.
That's actually math I know, and I think I passed in high school that nothing comes from nothing. And somehow we're in the engineering world, but I did get to that part of math. All right, we're going to have a delicious bourbon now. I think my friend Benjamin's going to help us out. Have you thought of a toast that you'd like to say today? And in the meantime, before Benjamin gets here and you think of your toast, I have a gift for you as well.
All right.
You do not have to open that right now, but it is a little bit of swag gear, as we've already said in this show and every show, and we'll continue to say, we are always grateful. We are always appreciative for your time. Time is so incredibly valuable, and if you ever decide to share it with us, it certainly with me, I don't want to speak for other people, but certainly with me, we appreciate all of it. Time's going to be spent one way or another. We get to decide where we're going to spend it. So, Brad, thank you for spending it here on the Gun Show, sharing your story, having the courage to play rapid fire, tell 2 truths and a lie, be on the spot with 0 editing whatsoever, and a little bit letting me have fun with you about our whole hiring and leaving thing. And we have, in my opinion, a great relationship, and I honor and value you as a friend.
Tony, thank you. I love what you have done, the path your career has taken to. Nothing but, I'm very happy for you, man.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. Do you have a toast?
Just to the future of manufacturing, really, to all my colleagues, everybody that's helped me along the way. I can go on and on, but I just thank everybody that's come through my path, including you.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Good toast. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate everything you're doing out there. Thank you for tuning in. We thank our sponsors again, AMT, IMTS, Ebita Grow Systems, Shop Rescue, MTD CNC. Thank you for the opportunity to share the Gun Show across the world's most popular news and media channel for manufacturing. And one last time, thank you all for watching and listening. We appreciate you.